30 years ago, when Kazakhstan, as the last remaining Soviet republic, declared independence and effectively ended the Union, the hope was high that the new republic would embrace democracy and build an effective statehood. The hope was high that people of Kazakhstan who suffered on the nuclear site in Semipalatinsk would now be granted fundamental rights and a chance for a dignified life. All these hopes were crushed by 30 years of Nazarbaev's dictatorship. Not a single fair election was held under his rule. Corruption flourished, freedom of speech was severely restricted, opposition imprisoned, protests of mine workers brutally suppressed, and journalists terrorized and murdered. Now Nazarbaev's successor promised to do a better job in a controlled democratization. At one glance, party registration has been simplified, participation in protests partially allowed, death penalty was recently abolished, and regions were given a bit more of self-governance. Yet, the recent deterioration of human rights questions the real efforts of the new president. The key OSCE recommendations were ignored during the last parliamentary elections. Censorship was tightened and internet surveillance reached dystopian level. Hundreds of peaceful protesters were illegally detained. The practice of harassing, assaulting and arresting of journalists was continued. Women and girls still suffer greatly despite introduction of mandatory quotas on electoral lists, not to speak about the terrible situation for women in detention centers. The government cracked down on the civil sector, trade unions and human rights organizations. Prisoners are still being tortured and the number of political prisoners started to rise again. The EU is based on the respect of fundamental rights and principles. Therefore, the economic cooperation with Kazakhstan, which has a huge potential, can only be advanced on condition of respecting our fundamental values. Human rights are not for sale. Thank you.